Sejam bem-vindos ao quarto episódio da série Desvendando, Identidade Executiva, uma coprodução entre MIT Sloan Managed Review Brasil e Unico. Eu sou o Murilo Giacomassi, Head de Conteúdo Co-Branding na MIT, e hoje eu recebo aqui a Anett Numa. Ela é Head de Comunicação na Accelerate Estonia e vai compartilhar com a gente um pouco sobre como a Estônia tem drivado essa questão de identidade digital, cibersegurança e inovação. Welcome, Anett.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Anett, it's a pleasure to have you here. To start, I will ask you for a brief introduction and what's your role at Estonia?
What's my role in Estonia? So actually, I have been working for the Estonian governmental sector for the last around 6-7 years, if I count correctly. And I've been working in very different kind of positions. I was a spokesperson for Estonian transformation and digitalization for around 3 years. Then I also worked for the Estonian Defense Ministry, covered cyber security policies for the NATO and EU side. And now I'm leading the government relations at the Estonian Governmental Innovation Lab called Accelerate Estonia, where we're actually helping private sector companies to get over of the legal barriers when they would like to launch their innovation. In terms of like my role, I kind of still hold the position as a spokesperson. I'm a huge fan of Estonian digital success story and especially with the focus of cybersecurity. So that's why also I'm here in Brazil to share this story and see what other countries could also learn from this.
Nice. So you have a very long background, and could you share with us what initially sparked your interest in technology and digital transformation?
So actually, my academic background is totally in the social sciences. So I have my master's in French politics. So I used to study in France in Sciences Po in Lyon. And it was one moment where I was sitting in my class and we had one course that was a name of the course was something like democracies around the world. And there was one of my classmates that made a presentation about Estonia and more precisely about e-democracy in Estonia. And I was sitting in a class and he spoke about, our e-identity and the security and how we include people into decision-making processes by just having these online solutions. I was sitting in a class and I was like, why don't I do this job? Like it's so cool to hear somebody else to talk about your country and be so I was so proud. And I knew that when I will graduate, like there has to be the way that I will return back to home. And I started like reading and focusing and learning a lot of materials about digitalization and cybersecurity side as well. So kind of educating myself as much as possible. And then there was one position that opened up, and I had an interview there, and I just had this spark in my eyes, and I said like I really really want to do that, and I'm ready to invest my entire time into learning more about technology and kind of also putting my aspects from the social side and international relations background into technology field as well, because we don't only need people with tech backgrounds in the work in the field of technology, but also people that maybe communicate these things a bit differently, and that has been my role. I'm a huge fan, like I said, and that's why that has kept me in this sector, and now especially with the focus on cybersecurity.
So, as a fan of huge technology, can you tell for us what key steps helped Estonia build such resilient and user-friendly digital systems? So, Estonia has become a global model for digital infrastructure. So, what is driving this?
So there was actually a huge just need in it from the very beginning, where we regained our independence in the year of 1991. So Estonia still is quite a small and young country, but we were facing a lot of issues in terms of managing the entire resources for the budget and also having enough people. We never had enough people for all of these different kind of jobs and also even for the governmental sector. And then if you were lacking of also a lot of trust. Then our government and our people back in early 90s said that we need to do something completely different than maybe the rest of the world has done. And we need to find ways that we could actually save some of the resources and at the same time build a trust. And that was a moment where luckily we had some tech-savvy people leading the government back in that time. And they said that why don't we just kind of try to find ways that technology could be supporting us in these senses as well. And then from the very early days already, so from 1994, we signed actually or drafted the first document to the parliament parliament saying that we're going to start like moving into the direction of the like using more of the technology. And then, of course, we had a lot of help also from, our neighborhood countries, like we're, we're just next to Finland and Sweden as well, and they also provided some of the help. But of course, starting from a very kind of early point, we knew it that we need to have identity cards, how we exchange information, and so on. Everything as kind of a basis for building that state, and we did, and we started focusing very largely on this. And today, you can do pretty much everything online in Estonia except getting divorced.
Getting divorced, yes.
And that's the only thing that still happens offline. But all the other services are fully accessible online.
And
today.
why getting divorced is just offline?
That's a good question.
It's a joke.
But seriously, if you think about also getting divorced on online, it's simple. Technically, it's just you. It's the same as using a dating application that you can just swipe right or swipe left and say that you will get divorced
It's
or
like
get
get married
or
in Las
whatever.
Vegas.
Yeah, but like also it has a lot of legal sides there that like we have to think about that, because I think it's the same case also here in Brazil, that if you get married to somebody and then you also get access to half of their property.
Yes.
And then imagine that you just have a fight, that let's say your wife says that bring milk home when you come back from work, and then you forget to do it, and then they're very mad at you, and then you start fighting about something else, and then she can go online and just be like, I'm gonna get divorced from you. So we don't also want this to happen too easily, and also with the marriage it took a lot of time that we also put that service online, and I think it was mainly based because of this, that also just make sure that everything by the legal aspects there is actually kind of taken care of and thought through, because technically it's very, very simple.
Yes, it's a very nice point, because we have the technology, but we still have emotions. So
Yeah.
the emotions moving people to do things.
And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, not divorce, but like getting married is a beautiful thing to do. I think so, and we also have thought about like it's still like something that people would like to do in person. So which is the marriage side is like you can kind of do the first application that you would like to get married online, but obviously you can still come to physically and register your marriage in a different way as well. So yeah, it's never about technology, but maybe it's just kind of the way of life.
Yes. And how does Estonia maintain transparency and security in a way that reassures its citizens about data privacy?
Yeah.
Because we are talking about marriage and getting divorced, but I think that people always nowadays more than in the past, people thinks more that what they are doing with my data. So how Estonia's government make this transparency?
That was our biggest priority since day number one, so that we make sure that our information, first of all, the information of people is actually their own information, and they are the owners of the data, and we're just providing platforms so that where they could store their information, and by doing so also that we provide a lot of kind of an overview, how do we store this information, who has access to that information. Of course, there's a lot of legal sides there as well, but the Estonian government offers a thing called data tracker, so that every single time either there is a private or public institution who accesses my information, checks my taxes information, my salary, my medical information, you name it, whatever information that we have about us online. And then basically every time that they do so, then I will get to know about this straight away for like, the timestamps in a way for like what time of the day, which government or public private institution, and what kind of information they were looking for. And in some of the portals, for example, like the medical sector, we can even opt out so that I manage who has access to which part of my information. And that's kind of the strongest element, I think. I've been traveling around the world and telling that story. I really haven't met any other government that has provided this data tracker, and I think it's like the best thing that we can give to our people to build the trust, and the level of the kind of a trust for the government is very high in Estonia today, because we know that they simply cannot hide anything from us. And again, it goes straightly back to our history, because when we were occupied by Soviet Soviet Union and part of the Soviet Union. Then obviously there were a lot of pressure for like, who was checking your information, how they used that information, not of course online, but we had a lot of fear in the society. And if you have a lot of fear and there's a lot of problems in a society, you need to find ways that you actually do something
And
differently.
in other countries that was occupied by Soviet Union, you see this kind of fear nowadays.
I mean, depending on the country, there is a lot of them. But I think like all of these countries have had to put a lot of kind of focus on like getting and building that trust back, and that's something that is just kind of, I mean, it was 50 years, so like to actually make sure that these 50 years of horror are being erased. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, you change the generation,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you
I
change
mean,
it.
because I was born into independent Estonia, so I obviously don't have that fear. But talking to my grandparents, like, it was a different society that
It's
they lived
cultural.
in. Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And Estonia Digital ID, it's widely recognized for its accessibility and security. You said about marriage and getting
Yeah.
divorced and things like that, but could you provide some examples that how this ID system has enhanced the public service and specifically in banking and healthcare?
Yeah. Well, like very importantly, like just one single ID card actually gives me access to absolutely everything. So I can do, absolutely everything, like I said, about like getting access to my medicals. This is my driving license, I travel with this card. I even identify myself when I go to I want to buy a new dress, and then basically to get the discount, so they don't give me in a shop like a customer discount card, but it's connected to my ID card. So just this one card is a key to every single service, including the banks. And actually the banks were an institution that were pushing very, very largely, like the implementation process as well. So they started giving people for free the ID card readers because they really needed, like their, customers to have a very safe way of authentication, and they supported the government in this process as well, and really kind of also put a lot of pressure that we need solutions like this. So also, if I access my banking sector services today, I do it fully by using my electronic identity card, but not so often anymore with the physical card, because we also have solutions on the phone. But that's just kind of one of the ways that we can also do it. And for the banks, again, that you don't have to focus on like working out a solution that would be safe to use, but you actually give access through one single card. Also, like whatever banks we use, because people have also different banks that they're operating, right? And then I can use my even different banks with the same identity card as well. So just trying to remember the two bingos that are linked to the card. So obviously it's like two-factor authentication methods, and everything is encrypted and timestamped. And the Estonian government even uses KSI blockchain system and a lot of data exchange methods as well. But yeah, basically one card and gives you access to
Access
everything,
to everything.
which is again an amazing thing in terms of like the design aspect, or providing the best customer experience for everybody as well.
And here in Brazil, we have a big movement in this way. Like we have Pix, we have open banking. But how do you see the security contributing to the economic landscape, in, not just in Estonia, but globally? Like bringing these examples for Brazil or another examples for another countries. How do you see?
In terms of like, especially when we think about like the EID, or like the safe way of authentication, there is the number of the frauds are increasing so drastically, and I had a couple of very interesting meetings yesterday with different banks here, and we discussed about the numbers that in last year, in 2023, 485 billion euros were actually lost because of different kind of frauds, and it's a massive number.
Yes.
And if we like if you want to fight with this, there has to be the way that we will see less and less of identity frauds, and there has to be solutions like that we can use different kind of biometric data to get access to your information, or like access services. So I see that it is becoming more and more essential, because it's just the cybersecurity issues or the security matters in general. Like, it is so easy to attack people today, because again, if you just have usernames and passwords, and is not the safest ways of logging into the system, it is going to be a problem. So I really, really hopefully see one day that more and more countries have different kind of identity cards and methods to provide to their citizens, and at the same time also from the banking side to the customers, so that they can have access in a more safer way. And of course also for the European level, we are working out also like a kind of a central European solution, so that by my one single identity card, that we have the same kind of requirements for the card, so that we could connect all of that information also on a cross-border level. And I'm really, really dreaming about the day that one day I could easily just travel here to Brazil, and then our kind of ID cards would connect to each other as well, so that maybe I can just use my identity card and log in here in a bank, or and we do have that chance already, like with a couple of countries in Europe, that our systems are connected to each other.
In
Um,
Europe,
uh,
that's going.
yeah, so there is a very positive change coming there, and for example, like our ID card, like I said, also gives us access to the medical services. So I can buy my prescriptive medicals by my Estonian doctor also in Finland, by using my Estonian card, and we're working with 4 or 5 different countries at the moment as well, that we
Nice.
have this chance. So that's kind of the future that I'm really looking for, because I mean, we travel around, and I feel like it's great, but at the same time, if the data is not moving with us, then it
Yes.
making things very difficult.
And how do you see the social frauds in fighting against the technology with cybersecurity and things like
Mm,
that? Because more we improve the technology,
mm.
more the social frauds getting worse, getting better. So how do you see
What do you exactly mean about the social fraud
social
side?
frauds? Like here in Brazil, you can fake that you are a person that you don't are. That
Okay. For us, it's impossible. I mean, once again, like, you just have your card that comes with 2 different pin codes, and there's no chance that you can pretend to be anybody else. The card has your photo. Some of the portals already have a facial recognition, so if that doesn't match with you, for example, like if I do my transactions, such as like notary transactions, then I also like use my ID card for this. I log into the system, I provide my 2 different pin codes, but also additionally, because it's a big thing that you do, then also there is facial recognition. It's actually an Estonian company that provides a very similar solution that Unico here in Brazil provides as well, so that it kind of identify yourself, like again, by biometric way, and then it has to match with your face, and with a photo that you also have there on a card, and then it is quite impossible to like anyway to manipulate with this also, because with these companies, what they also do is like basically they start recording if you log into the system, but they don't inform you about this, so they just make sure that also that there is nothing shady happening in the background, so that you're not forced to do it, or forced to do this transaction. So for us, it's not really even a case.
in Estonia, I think people have education about these systems and this cybersecurity and
Mm.
things like that since they is a child.
Well, we're trying to move on that direction. Yes, I'm still quite worried about this, because we're now also, I mean, just generally speaking about Europe, only in 12 countries out of 27, cybersecurity is part of the school curriculum, which is such a small number. We have been implementing a lot of kind of cybersecurity, robotic classes, technology classes from very early age, already from the kindergarten. But I'm not going to throw you here like, butterflies and rainbows, because it's not in every school. So in a lot of maybe public schools in the smaller areas in Estonia, it's not quite possible, and they don't have that. And in some of the more elite schools, they have very high level of these courses. So this is something that we need to focus much more and kind of put a lot of pressure on the Ministry of Education and say that, like, these are the skills that people need the most, and there's technologies like AI coming around the corner
Yes.
that are going to help the kids with a lot of other things that they have had to deal with, and that is going to be the future that we cannot stop. So what we need to teach the kids right now is to how to actually protect themselves from these new technologies and how to use them properly. So it's a complete different kind of an approach that we're going to see, and changes in educational sector are always very slow, and that's why I've been always saying it's just kind of we need to push from the private sector and say that, like, our future employees need to come with the skills, and if we are going to start teaching them the skills, it's already too late. So that's a job that needs to be done already on a very lower high school level as well.
And what considerations are essential when creating policies that encourage innovations without compromising security? You talk about of Estonia and the story of Estonia, and what people thinking about data and about cybersecurity. But what you think that are essential when creating policies that encourages the populations to do innovations and the in Estonia, we have a lot of startups. It's the biggest country in terms of startups in Europe. But what don't compromise in the security?
Yeah, so for us, it's been always very, very important that we don't over-regulate things. As being part of the EU, there is also, some of the things that, like, a lot of big tech companies are even leaving the EU because it's a bit of too much regulated, and that actually stops innovation. But of course, with every single regulation that we come up with, the main goal there is to provide security and make sure that nobody is being harmed. And the organization where I'm currently working with, like, we're actually finding that balance, so that not over regulating, but making sure that innovation can run, but it's also safe. So I've been always kind of suggesting that how to find that balance would be to really test technologies, have kind of a sandboxes, and really test these solutions in a real environment. And then use that information that you have gathered from these testings and these pilots and these sandboxes, however you would like to name them, but really use that information and then adopt the policies, and get the real experience. Because, like, if we haven't tested or tried anything, we don't know how to regulate this, and also we need to do it much faster, because also with the AI regulation in Europe, it took, I think, around 2.5-3 years, and just think about how much the AI has developed in the last 2 or 3 years. So that if we take it too slow, we are also a bit late in terms of regulation. So I think the balance there is to really have the real data, real case studies that we can actually be dependent on. Not so much about, like, what do we think that might be the right thing to do, and again, providing a lot of education also for decision makers in terms of, like, I've seen a lot of cases where people write policies about technologies that they have no idea what this is even about, and that's why it's also important that we kind of include private sector into decision making process, having them sitting on a table and also giving us the feedback. What do they need?
And is there some policies running now in Estonia or in Europe in terms of AI? Because AI needs a lot of data. AI runs in base of data, and we are discussing right now in the technology world what AI is doing with our data.
Yeah.
So is there something in this movement in Estonia?
Yeah, so as being again part of the EU, so we have the EU AI Act that just came out some time ago, and this is fully regulating again the use of AI, again by keeping in mind that the security would have been provided, but in a lot of senses I feel like it might be a bit of too strict. And I've been always saying, like, when it comes to the AI, like, we need to find this kind of a bliss point there. So when you put on a scale for, like, AI, is it going to provide you more opportunities, or is it going to be a threat? And I've been always asking people, where do you put AI? Is it more a threat for the future, or is it more going to be an opportunity for the future? And to find that bliss point, we need a legal framework that kind of defines that bliss point. Because if you don't regulate at all, it is going to become a threat. If you regulate too much of this,
You're
then you
gonna
kill
break
the
this.
opportunity
Yes.
side, and that goes down to zero. So kind of my recommendation has been there to really focus on like, again, I will get back to the side, including more from actual players in the market that are providing and building the AI solutions, and then getting their feedback, like how they would like this to look like, but also talk about the threat sides there. Because I mean, a lot of cyber incidents and cyber attacks today are actually AI kind of driven. And it's so easy to actually use that side, but at the same time you can use also AI to help to prevent the attacks and see a lot of kind of big
Yes.
data analysis before the events happen. So it's again has both sides. If you become friends with AI, you can use this as a good thing. But if you are just fighting against that or over regulating some of the things as well, it can actually kill the entire innovation.
You need to have a balance. And what do you see as the next frontier for innovation in this field
Yeah.
that we are talking about? And what should other countries prepare to embrace it? Like we have Asia, a lot of years in front of Latin America, and we have Estonia in European regulation. We have United States that have some regulations, but
Yeah.
in some states that are very different. So, what do you think about the next frontier for innovation, and what should other countries prepare for it?
I think again, like I know that people are getting tired of hearing AI here and AI there, but like this is going to be the future, and this is going to kind of define everything, how we do things, how we live. And I again, countries that are investing into that sector will be the winners in the future, and especially also economically. Because like once again, like talking about the regulation side, if we overregulate things in the EU, these companies are going to move to somewhere where they can actually operate. And it, I mean, Asia is a good example. Like they would just move on that side of the world and be like, we're gone. Like it's much easier to operate there, and that's where also the where the money moves.
Yes.
And Europe as a union cannot like even live without money or a running economy. So for us, like it's very, very important to find a ways that we wouldn't let these companies to go somewhere else. So that's why again, learning more about how we could support the companies that are providing these solutions, but more in general, like emerging technologies. Like there is a lot of new tech coming around the corner. And even when we think about like different conflicts around the world at the moment, there is one ongoing war in Europe, in the Middle East. I mean, what's currently happening also between North Korea and South Korea. It's a lot of things on that side of the world as well. And we especially think about like which countries are um also a bit more successful in protecting themselves. These are the countries that have the newest technology. So also in terms of our even like a national security, this is so much kind of connected to technology. Do we want this to know? It is very
Yes.
much connected. And then, of course, the cyber side is growing very, very fast. The incident numbers, and again, you need to invest in that sector in terms of awareness, but also having a lot of workforce for the future. I think the latest number that the World Economic Forum just published this article was around like 4 million people missing, actually working in like in the cybersecurity field worldwide, and it's a huge number,
It's a huge
and that's
number.
the number of today. The number tomorrow is already
It's already bigger.
increased, and that's a huge issue that we're facing. And also, even going back to the AI side, AI can help us to even like kind of get rid of the workforce problem also in this field, because we can replace some of the more manual things also with the AI in terms of cybersecurity. So what they could prepare them for would be just keep an eye, what kind of new technology is coming on the market, and how you could be the first first country to implement to testing, and as Estonia has been a leading country in terms of like innovation and e-governance, we have said now that we would like to become a country where companies could come and kind of test their innovation. So we've been working out also a thing called experimental framework that's currently in the process of between us and Minister of Justice at the same time, Minister of Defense as well. So to kind of provide Estonia country as a test bed for new innovation. So really, if a country wants to attract companies, they need to be friendly, open, and really kind of welcoming new technologies as well. Otherwise, the money just will jump somewhere else.
The money will follow the innovation.
Yeah.
So if you can give some advice to the CEOs, CTOs, or CIOs here in Brazil, what you're gonna say about the not just technology, but about the digital technology and things like that. What companies in Estonia are doing that we need to look and we need to not copy, but give an inspiration.
Yeah, I've been actually always saying when I've been talking to higher level leaders is that like you gotta be willing to risk. And as also a country that you need to act like we have this way of saying that like Estonia managed to become successful because we behaved like a startup, that we said that it's okay to fail. And I like this way of saying that like just try new things and fail very fast so that you can learn from your lessons. Because if you continue to be comfortable and being like, we will see what the others are doing, and then we will think
Everything's
about
going
this, then we will
well.
discuss, and then we will have, we will see. We have time. You never have time. I mean, innovation and like the competition is so high around the world that customers are always going to somewhere where it's more beneficial, where it's more cooler, sexier, and also just kind of again the newer technologies that these companies are able to provide. So I would tell these people that just be a bit of more brave, and be willing to risk, because if you don't risk, you also are not gonna win ever.
Yes.
And that is the case study from a country that is leading in the sector, that we said, even if we fail, that's okay. It's going to be a lesson. We don't repeat the mistake again. And
You learn with the mistake.
yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, I can live my entire life. It's just somewhere for like, let's say that I can be my entire life in at my hometown, never go or travel anywhere, and thinking about that. I don't want to die. Maybe I will fly to another side of the world, and the plane will crash and everything, and I would just stick in my own like town, and maybe there, I don't know, a thunderstorm outside, or like it's a lot of ways. Like if you're so kind of stuck that thinking I'm not risking or I'm not living,
Yes.
then it's a waste.
You're not gonna see the world.
And I'm sorry, but no company will ever be successful if they're not willing to risk. And it's just about their reflection side. It's just like you reflect, you admit, you're transparent, and that's how the magic works. So, but maybe just one other recommendation, some more, is that if you even are going to use a lot of more new technologies, then always think about security as a first thing. Don't wait things to get messy. Don't wait for a big attack to happen so that you would start putting more money into that sector, but just like simply like invest your money into the security, because it's going to cost you much more to deal with the consequences of an attack than actually the prevention process, and not just the consequences such as the money, but also consequences as losing the entire trust from your customers. So these are the things that don't have even a price tag. If you lose the trust, it's gone forever, and that's why it's important to actually make sure that you have the latest technology that also helps to prevent attacks, and then get back on track also by if there has been an attack that has been successful.
Yes, if you're gonna wait, you're gonna lose more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much, Anett, for joining us. Your insights in digital identity and cybersecurity has been invaluable. Feel free to say anything to the audience.
Yeah, it's just I think in terms of kind of a recommendation to everybody as well, even like as citizens, as you know, employees somewhere in a company, as a friend, as a family member, let's just kind of help each other in these terms as well. There are people that are still left behind in terms of, you know, having the knowledge in digital literacy, and we cannot always point on fingers on the government that you need to do that job. But it's your job to also help each other. And as an employee in one company, I would recommend also to again put a lot of pressure on your leadership and the team that you're working with, and really push them to do things outside of the box a bit more. But at the same time, also, if you have something to teach about technology to somewhere else, then do it. Or also the security matters, because we have to help each other. We're so much connected, and that's why it's so important that like we actually talk to each other. We share the best experiences, and we get this. We like to call them as a spark people in Estonia. So that's somebody who sparks the energy of the changes and pushes the changes, and let them to actually run the changes and become that person who is not just comfortable somewhere because things have been working that way, but is actually eager to push the changes a bit of faster way.
They are like early adopters
Yes.
of the changing.
Exactly.
Thanks again, Anett.
Thank you.
In the name of MIT Sloan Brazil, in the name of Unico, I'm very thankful for your presence here, for sharing your insightfuls about Estonia and about cybersecurity and about technology and innovation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
E para você que nos acompanhou até aqui, esse é o último episódio da série Desvendando a Identidade Executiva, mas você pode assistir aos outros 3 episódios no canal da MIT no YouTube e também no nosso portal. Obrigado!